للمجتمع لم تعد خيار، هي مطلب حقيقة لكل أفراد المجتمع.
الذكاء الاصطناعي ركيزة أساسية لتعزيز البنية التحتية الرقمية.
Every individual has the power to shape their financial destiny.
الثقافة المالية بمفهومها البسيط هي وعي الفرد بقراراته المالية. اليوم أكبر تحدي للاستقرار المالي هو قلة الوعي وانتشار الأفكار المغلوطة حول المال، فنرى كثيراً من الفئات التي تنساق خلف الاستهلاك المفرط مقابل الادخار والاستثمار والتخطيط. مستقبل القطاع المالي هو مستقبل رقمي بشكل كبير. اليوم التكنولوجيا هي عنصر أساسي في هوية القطاع المالي.
أصبح الاستثمار في التكنولوجيا والذكاء الاصطناعي ركيزة أساسية وجزء من استراتيجية التنافسية والنمو للبنوك، حيث تتواصل الجهود لتوفير أفضل الحلول للعملاء والمساهمة في تعزيز الاقتصاد الوطني. نحرص على دعم مختلف المبادرات الرامية إلى تمكين الشباب والارتقاء بمهاراتهم في المجالات الرقمية والوظيفية والقيادية.
Financial literacy equips people with the knowledge to make informed financial decisions, manage risk, and seize opportunities, ultimately creating a better financial future for themselves and for their communities. Fintech is giving access to a broader user base and allows them the opportunity to invest in global financial markets and build long-term investment portfolios, which helps improve their economic resilience for themselves and also for society as a whole. There's a tremendous opportunity for the hundreds of billions of dollars that are being passed down to future generations. AI is creating an opportunity for those generations to invest in financial markets with more knowledge than they've ever had before. The best way to think about investing is to make it a part of your daily life, to make it habitual. Keep thinking about the long-term future and continue down your path.
ماذا يستوجب علينا أن نفعل لنكون رواد صناعة القطاع المالي لأجيال المستقبل؟
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سمو الشيخ خالد بن محمد بن زايد آل نهيان ولي عهد أبو ظبي، سمو الشيوخ، أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، ضيوف الكرام، يسعدني اليوم أن أرحب بكم وأن أبارك لكم هذا الشهر الفضيل. ستكون هذه الجلسة باللغة الإنجليزية، فاسمحوا لي الآن أن أكمل بهذه اللغة. Your Highnesses, Excellencies, Ladies and Gentlemen, it is with great honor to welcome you to today's session on the future of finance in the age of intelligence. My name is Shada Shamsi, and I'm a strategy consultant at EY Parthenon. Today, we have the privilege of hearing from one of the most influential voices in banking and financial services. Jim Marous is a globally recognized futurist and expert on disruption in finance. He is the co-publisher of the Financial Brand, the owner of the Digital Banking Report, and host of the Banking Transformed podcast. Following the presentation, we will have an engaging discussion with the esteemed panel of experts. Hana Rustumani, Group CEO at First Abu Dhabi Bank. Abdullah Al-Mansouri, Managing Partner at i3H Investment. And Firas Jalbout, Founder and CEO of Baraka. Before we begin the presentation with Mr. Marous, we would like to ask the audience a question through the polling devices placed on the tables in front of you. Please provide your feedback on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the most likely. How likely would you be to have an AI agent manage your finances on your behalf in the next 5 years? Mr. Marous, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And thank you to Your Highness for inviting me to be here today at the first session of 2025. We are embarking upon the fifth industrial revolution, a time unlike any other we've ever experienced or may ever experience in the future. A period where the intelligence, insight, and learning is at our fingertips. Who would have thought we'd ask a question about agentic AI helping us with our finances within 5 years? But it's not all good news on the horizon. There's challenges, there's elephants in the room. Everything from compliance issues that we are not aware of and far beyond what we've ever thought we'd have to be. Back office transformation that must be done to keep us modernized. We have issues with regard to customer expectations. The consumer wants more than they've ever wanted before. And they're expecting us to act like other industries that have much less risk at stake. We have to realize that the consumer's expectations are evolving every day. The consumer doesn't just want a good experience. They want to have engagement. They want to have dialogue. They want their financial institution to be empathetic to their needs. That puts a big challenge on financial institutions, a big challenge on government agencies, and even a big challenge on the consumer in their selection process to how they're going to be improving their financial wellness. More than ever, banking's transformation now is creating a fragmented environment. When I get in front of a room of bankers, I ask them many times, how many of you have closed a significant primary financial relationship in the last 5 years? As you can expect, no one raises their hands. On the other hand, I ask them, how many of you have opened a brand new fintech or non-traditional banking relationship in the last 2 years? And everyone raises their hands. This is silent attrition in our banking ecosystem. We used to be able to know what my primary financial institution was. We aren't able to do that as easily. In fact, it used to be the transaction account was the primary financial relationship for many people, like my son at 27 years old. It may be the credit relationship. It may be his car loan. It may be PayPal or Venmo. The banking industry is changing, and we need to change with it. We need to embrace the opportunity that's out there, being aware of the challenges. We have to take a step forward out of our comfort zone into an area that's still very much undefined. We have to realize that emerging technologies are changing everything, not just on the distribution, but back office systems. They're now more available to every size financial institution, but technology alone will not do it. You can invest all you want in technology, but unless you have the leadership, unless you have the people with foresight, unless you have those that are willing to get out of their comfort zone, those who are willing to go beyond what they've learned in the past, to embrace the future of AI and insight and transformation. Unless we have that, we can't move forward even with the best technologies. Legacy systems that are behind the scenes are not keeping pace with what we have to do on the front of the app. You know, it's interesting. Over the years, we've been able to create mobile banking apps that most consumers rate very highly. However, they're not differentiated anymore. They're all good at what they do. The problem is the back office can't support the transformation that we're talking about. We talk about AI and the ability to predict consumers' behavior and what they'll want in the future. Our back office systems often don't support that. And in many cases, compliance is not keeping up with what we're trying to do on the forefront. We have to realize also that economic uncertainty is impacting the way financial services are being consumed. It's never been harder to be a consumer trying to keep your wealth management in check. We have multiple institutions we're using. We have multiple things we have to learn. And every day when we wake up, the marketplace could change in an instant, as we've seen over the last couple of weeks. We are looking for ecosystem that can predict and help consumers do what they are not comfortable doing themselves. But that takes one thing that is hard to achieve: an elevated level of trust. If we don't have the trust of the consumer, we can't transform the way they do banking. We're finding more than ever that where there's challenges, there are opportunities. The challenges of being able to do things differently than we've ever done before, but the opportunity to step into a space that can provide better services, better wellness to a wider array of people at speed and scale that's never been talked about before. As you can imagine, I've been in banking quite a while. I'm not a new person on the block. We talked over 30 years ago about the one-to-one customer relationship, building that one-to-one future, as Don Peppers and Martha Rogers used to write about. We haven't achieved it yet. In fact, the train has left the station and is actually moving forward faster than most organizations, most compliance people, most legal people in the firm, and most consumers can keep track of. But we're not just talking about financial services. In our daily lives, are we embracing the opportunities that AI gives us for continuous and ongoing education of ourselves so we don't get disrupted? We also have to realize the future is now. The banking tech revolution is giving us the opportunity to move, but we can't wait. We can't hope that maybe it will get better. We used to be able to do in banking, we used to say, I don't mind being a fast follower. There is no such thing as a fast follower. It used to be defined by the size of the organization. We knew that the bigger the organization, the better equipped they'll be for the future. That's no longer the case. We've done research with my firm that show that some of the best organizations in the world are not the biggest, but in many cases the smallest, that have used solutions to move forward because their leadership is ready to embrace change in a space that is not comfortable for them. We also have to realize that in data, we really have the gems of the future. The digital world allows us to have data that is immediately available and expansive beyond our beliefs. But just because we have that opportunity doesn't mean the financial institution is using it. I use an example of my own. I have a business relationship, I have a consumer relationship. Both organizations I know a lot about me. But on a day in, day out basis, it is very unusual for them to show me what they know about me. They hold it tight. The risk avoidance mentality makes it so they're afraid of making a mistake. Yet, my digital retailer, my digital grocery, even my digital restaurant where I order food from, is not afraid to make a mistake if they have my best interest in mind. That data that's now available in the marketplace can move us forward at speed and scale that's never been seen before, but only if we deploy it on behalf of the consumer and on behalf of others within our organization. We have to realize that the democratization of data is extraordinarily powerful. When I was in banking, you used to have to knock on the head of the data department and say, when can I get some information about the marketing program I just did? It'd be about 6 or 9 months. The best organizations in the financial marketplace today make that data available instantaneously, and not just to a select few, but across the organization, so that every consumer, every person within the organization has the same tools to work from and can give the consumer and each other the same answer. We're fighting that right now. I had an experience on Delta Airlines where it was not a great flight. I tried first through a chatbot to see if they could solve my problem. I then went to a customer service rep. I then went to social media, which is it's kind of like throwing the hand grenade out, because when you go to social media, you've really tried it all. I got the same questions asked of me with different answers provided. A week later, a person called me and said, "Mr. Maruth, we're very sorry. We know you're a very good customer at Delta Airlines. We realize you had 2 flights last month. You have 3 coming up. We don't want an experience like you had coming back from Amsterdam to happen again. We also realize that you called and interacted with 4 of our channels, and we asked you the same questions over and over again. That's a bad experience. We'd like you to know that each one of those are trying very hard to make a positive experience. The problem is they don't talk to each other. What we'd like to do is we'd like to refund the entire flight that you took from Amsterdam to Cleveland on us." They quickly transformed the experience for me, not just because of financially, but because they showed they knew the problem I was dealing with. They also showed that they're trying to solve it on my behalf, not on their behalf. We have to realize also that personalization is what consumers expect right now. Very much like your GPS system in your car. That used to, in the old days, be a map, a paper map on how do I get from point A to point B. But the GPS system today not only tells me the direction how to get there, but through crowdsourcing actually helps me avoid traffic jams, helps me go on side roads to get to my destination faster and better. It may even give me ideas of what restaurants and what things I go to normally are along the way that I can go to take a rest. The consumer expects the same type of behavior from their financial institution. The financial institution is expected to know the customer, to understand their needs, and deploy solutions proactively to help you down that path to the future. The challenge is leadership in most financial institutions get very uncomfortable with moving forward at scale because of the risk involved. Most financial institutions hire people and tell people, we do this, 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 and we don't want to lose money. On the other hand, WeBank in Shenzhen, China, has over 1 billion customers right now, but most of them, they simply provide financing for phones. They realize if they serve a broad market, they know what their financial return will be, but they also know their customer and can predict what they'll do based on their phone behavior. We have to realize more than ever, innovation is happening at speed and scale that we've never seen before. Innovation has to move that quickly. Not incremental innovation, but large-scale innovation. We used to make annual plans. That is no longer the way most financial institutions are working. In fact, monthly implementations are what we're looking for. WeBank, which I just brought up, does 17 to 18 updates on major activities within the bank every month. Research activities and innovation activities. However, again, it takes data, analytics, and technology to drive that innovation. It's no longer about human or digital interactions. It is really more than ever about humanized digital interactions. Very much like AI, it's not about replacing people as much as it is using technology to drive better decisions from humans and humans to drive better decisions by machines. You do not need to be replaced if you continually learn, if you continually embrace the change that's happening, and if you use the AI tools out there to learn every day the art of what's possible. As I said at the beginning of my presentation, what we're looking at with generative AI is to really move forward in predicting on a personalized basis what a consumer, what a business, or what each other are trying to do. It's no longer about what's possible. What's interesting is generative AI has a very short life to date. And yet, it's the most used consumer technology ever in our lifetimes. It got implemented faster than the cell phone did. What is it being used for? Everything. I recommend everyone here start your day or end your day or both asking a chat GPT, a Claude AI, a Perplexity, or any generative AI tool a question and learn how to interact it, because your skill set is going to be based on not the answers you can get, but the questions you can ask. The prompting skills are the tool of the future. What can you ask ChatGPT or another generative AI tool that can move you forward? It's beyond technology, I've mentioned. It's about leadership. Technology, you cannot buy yourself out of being able to provide the services the consumer wants. You have to have empathy, and you have to understand that now more than ever, it's not the transfer of money, it's the transfer of value. What value are you providing the consumer that they can move forward knowing they've made the right decision? We have to realize also the adaptation to change is important. We've all had successes in our lives. We have to step out of that zone and realize the key to success is actually making change happen, getting out of your comfort zone and moving forward. As I mentioned, the future is changing faster than ever before, and it will never change this slowly again. The consumer expects you to know them, understand them, and reward them for the business that they provide. This requires a seamless integration of data, advanced analytics, and technology. But most importantly, it requires a new leadership thinking, a thinking that evolves and makes it so there's a paradigm shift in what you've learned from the past. This doesn't matter if you're a banker, a regulator, or just a regular person on the street. More than ever, you have to determine, are you ready to embrace change? Are you ready to take risks? Are you ready to disrupt yourself and those around you with new ideas and the acceptance of being an ongoing learner? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marous, for that insightful presentation. I'd like to begin the discussion with Hannah, please. Hannah, we've seen how AI is fundamentally changing banking operations, but what do you see as the biggest challenge for traditional banks in adapting to this AI-driven finance, and how should they address it?
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, barak alaikum shahr. Your Highness, thank you for having me today. And indeed, today, if you look at the strategy of not only banking institutions, but in general, all the institutions, technology, digital transformation is a key strategic initiative that they have in their plans. And it is estimated that 175 billion in the UAE will be spent over the next 5 years by the banks and financial institutions. So that's a big number, that's a big investment. And of course, as we heard in the presentation, there's a huge benefits in embracing the AI technology to bring in that better customer experience, that enhancement in the way, that personalization to deliver the best for your needs, as well as, making it much easier and more productive and efficient. In my perspective, that they are not really challenges, I think 3 big considerations that institutions are looking into. Number 1 is the technology. I mean, you have to have the right structures, frameworks, investments. You have to have the right infrastructure before you even take on the journey in terms of the AI and embedding the AI models within your transformation journey. So it's really critical that we build those flexible models, flexibility in our architecture to embrace that technology, enable us to further process all this data and deliver the right services to the clients. So technology will be a key enabler for institutions going forward. Number 2 is the talent. Talent is extremely important as we move. It's not for today, it's not for, next year. It is the talent to make us future ready for all this transformation and adopting all this AI technology and capability to allow us to compete in the future and really be future ready in the future, to be competitive, deliver the right personalization to our clients going forward. And it's all about upskilling and really training the talent we have, and also onboarding the right talents in terms of the know-how and the technology and the capability. The third pillar is really about I call it the operating environment. Operating environment in terms of the security, the data privacy, the regulation, all of that consideration that we need to embrace. And this is what we will need to also ready ourselves for the future and make sure that there are no misuses in terms of adopting these AI technologies. We want to make sure data is protected, privacy is provided to our clienteles, and make sure that we build that trust with the employees, individuals, as well as clients. So that's really an important element that we need to look into. And of course, working as partners with the government, with the regulators in terms of what are the journey in terms of adapting the right regulation and compliance, but at the same time, really positively embracing the AI technology and giving the right offering to the clients. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Touching on the regulatory point that you just mentioned, Abdullah, with your experience driving innovation in investments and economic research, you have a front row seat to the evolution of financial services. So we'd like to know, what opportunities do you see in the current national regulatory and policy landscape when it comes to fostering financial inclusion and AI adoption in the financial and capital markets?
Thank you, Shada. Assalamu alaikum. First of all, I think it's necessary to shed the light on the challenges that we spoke of, and Mr. Jim Marous highlighted actually over here, because in the UAE, what we are doing is exceptional. And I will prove that one with a very specific program that we've launched, and specifically launched by the central bank, and it is commendable actually what they're doing. What's commendable about it, it's basically the time frame that takes them to achieve and fully integrate 9 complex pillars in a 3-year time frame from 2023 to 2026. And they've already achieved close to 85% of at least a subcategory within those. The 2 pillars will cover and actually grow and develop the digital infrastructure for the financial services advancement in 2 parts. One, we're moving to a cashless society or economy where digital transactions will be dominating. And that is being done by actually 3 major pillars. We call the instant payment platforms, ANI, through the Ittihad Payments, subsidiary of the central bank, as well as the recently launched, and the one we're celebrating today, which is the card domestic scheme, where payment is going to be processed in a local network, a network that is similar to MasterCard and Visa on a global scale. And this adds a layer of security, adds a layer of cost efficiency that will be realized in the long term, actually, and by achieving the strategy in 2031, I believe that we will have achieved a significant milestone there. That's on one front. The other front is the digital infrastructure that we are leading. And the beauty behind that, it's integrating diverse pillars of society into this. It's not exclusively for the financial sector or AI, but it's actually investing in AI to develop the AI. For example, the financial cloud. Now we're developing a financial cloud over here to store all the data and basically record all the transactions. In addition to that one, we have the open banking policy and the open finance policy, which will give access to third-party fintech providers through API, an open API channel. And this is significant. Why? Because we're democratizing data over here for people. So accessibility to financial services will be at the reach of everyone. And that's on the front. The other thing, when it comes to inclusion, is how we do it, how we model it here in the UAE. And I'll give an example of Abu Dhabi specifically. It's a community-based structure, frankly speaking. Yesterday, I've read a statement for His Excellency, the Chairman of the Department of Energy. It says, we're moving from just simple regulations to becoming an enabler for businesses. These businesses will be revenue generating commercial vehicles that will definitely push the economy forward and change the landscape of the financial services sector. The other thing, His Excellency, as well, the Chairman of the Department of Municipality, mentioned the importance of sandboxes, which is something that we are launching and doing rapidly and frequently here. We pilot projects 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. So that's something that we are like to see at one of the global markets over here, which is the leading one, as we are today the capital of capital, the Abu Dhabi Global Financial Markets, and as well other arenas within the mainland, actually. So these frequent and rapid experimentation in control environment is something that will kind of change the landscape for us. Now, when it comes to inclusion, a lot of people think it's just for the individuals and citizens. Yes, they make the greater component over here, but I think we're already ahead in the game in that one. The thing is, businesses, small businesses, the third sector, and others that are considered under the umbrella, I think this is the direction where we are as well going in the UAE. And today we have actually a minister of for the SMEs and small and medium enterprises. All of that will reshape our financial services sector, because it's not just a single player's game. It's a community work, and we are very successful in doing that. Thank you very much.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you. Thank you, Abdullah. To Firas, please. We've heard from Jim, and he's highlighted how AI is revolutionizing banking by kind of anticipating the customer's needs. How do you see AI shaping investment management, and what is the most significant impact we can expect in that space?
Thank you. Your Highness, thank you for having me here today. To the dignitaries in the room, thank you for being here. It's an honor to be in front of you speaking about this important subject matter. Before I address the topic of AI specifically, I think I'd like to make mention of the fact that I believe that investor participation in capital markets can be a great tool for wealth creation, and then think about how AI can further that goal. Now, with that being said, we know that investor participation creates greater output, builds financial resilience, and simply put, when people feel more financially secure, they contribute to innovation and create more value for their society. With that being said, I mean, we know that historically capital markets investments have outperformed cash and real estate. However, investor participation in some economies remains low. Recognizing this opportunity here in the UAE, policymakers have adopted new policy and are now encouraging more private companies to list publicly, and also have gone one step further and actually reformed the pension system more recently to encourage longer-term investment in the system. Now, with that being said, the question really is, how can we utilize AI to further this goal of getting more people to invest in capital markets to improve their financial standing? With AI in particular, there are multiple ways that it will impact financial services. With investment management, I think that the interaction at the very outset is changing with AI. And what I mean by that specifically is that there's a huge shift in how technology will be used to access financial services. We went from the desktop to mobile and now to AI-based applications. And that change creates a massive opportunity for new brands and new products to emerge. And that's important specifically because there's about $80 trillion of wealth that is expected to be passed down in the next 20 years from older generations to new consumers. So if you want to capture that opportunity, you have to provide the technology that these early adopters will use in the financial services. Finally, I think the idea that we will have co-pilots, investment co-pilots that we will use as individual consumers is very close to coming to fruition. You're already starting to see AI co-pilots that you can prompt and use to make better investment decisions. So this will emerge, and the era of hyper-personalization will be very, very close. That will allow you to make your own investment decisions with complex data sets, to provide your own inclusions, exclusions, and so on and so forth. And that's going to be a very exciting time.
Thank you, Faraz. Mr. Marous, I'd like to ask you, in your presentation, you mentioned that if we don't embrace change, then actually, I'd like to know what would happen if we don't embrace change as individuals and businesses.
Yeah, it's interesting because we now have the capability of having ongoing learning at our fingertips. Now, the challenge is if you don't take advantage of that opportunity, we have the risk of being displaced, either in not doing what we've always loved doing or not doing what we'd like to do in the future. It's so exciting as I look at my family, my wife and my son, how they've embraced change and how they've moved forward at scale on their own, not because of me pushing them, but using the tools that are available. If we don't use these tools, we will fall behind. I see that in just deciphering our daily news. We can use generative AI and ChatGPT and other tools to define what really is going on in the world. But again, as I mentioned, it's all about prompts. It's about knowing how to ask the questions. But if we don't do that, we will be displaced. And I think all of us have a fear of what AI could bring. We all have a role in making it what it can become and looking at the rails and helping with those rails.
Thank you. And finally, may we please have your insight on how likely would you be to have an AI agent manage your finances on your behalf in the next 5 years?
Well, I'll tell you the results of the oh my gosh, it looks
5
like
are most likely, it seems like.
yeah, it's relatively light, but the reality is 37% on a scale of 1 to 5. Think it will happen. I think it gets down to one thing. I think number one, we should save this slide and see where we are 5 years from now, because I think our anticipation of what will happen may be over aggressive in some ways, even though it's happening so quickly. Because I think what we have to worry about is the whole factor of trust. We're only going to embrace agentic AI slowly, probably not starting with our finances, but with other things. But I think as all the people on the panel today brought up, the potential is massive. And if we look in this region, just what's going on in the UAE and in this whole area, in innovation, in digital transformation, in financial institution transformation, I think it's possible. It's a matter of, are we going to be doing small steps before we do large? And are we going to trust the data to go where we want it to go? Some people will never go for it, and that's not a problem. But I think overall, we'll all benefit from the output from these AI tools. That's interesting results.
I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Mr. Marous and the esteemed panel for sharing such insightful perspectives during this discussion. And I would also like to thank His Highness Sheikh Khalid bin محمد bin Zayed and his distinguished guests for your valuable presence today. In closing, I would like to invite Your Highness to the stage for a group photo. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.